Opening slide graphic text title: Housemates, a natural fit. With Julianne, Menzies. Image of Julianne, Menzies. Text: Purpose Matters Conference. Logos, Belonging Matters, and TalksThatMatter.net.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's lovely to be here, and I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people whose country I present from today and pay respect to their elders past and present. I am Jessica's mum. She normally loves to do these presentations with me, but she can't be with us today. So I thought we'd begin by showing a short film about her life that's been produced, so that you can get to know her before we get to talk about what she's doing with her life.
Title: Home Share, Doing Life with Jess. Vision: Housemates Coralie and Jessica talking to each other on the living room couch.
So Jess, do you like living here?
Yeah,
Yeah? What's so good about living here?
it has mate.
Interview with Coralie, Jessica's housemate.
I knew Jess's family through church when I first moved back to Stirling. Julianne just called me up one day, and it was at the end of a week where I was just a bit sick of living where I was, and it was like she just knew that I needed a different place to live in, and I think I'd moved in within 2 weeks, and it's been 3.5 years, so it's good.
2 selfie-style photos of Jessica and Coralie together smiling at camera. One with Santa hats on.
What's your favourite thing about having housemates, Jess?
The Bible.
We go to the basketball, don't we?
Have 36ers.
Like 36ers.
Photographs of Jessica and Coralie together at a basketball game.
So the arrangement for living here, this is a unique situation, and you do have 2 housemates that work alongside each other with Jess. We just really support her in the things that she likes to do.
Photos of Jessica drawing a large sunflower.
What some fun things do we do?
On football.
Video of Jessica cheering at a football game.
Go to the beach.
Sometimes we have fish and chips at the beach.
Photo selfie of Jessica and Coralie at the beach.
Last Thursday, we're going to water. Going down the beach.
I would really encourage other families to consider something similar for their family if they can. You know, it's a really great way to have a support system. She is independent, chooses her own things for the week, and has the freedom to go for a walk and get a coffee.
Jessica ordering at the coffee shop and chatting to staff.
And, Jess loves to entertain and have friends over. And she can, because this is her house.
Jessica with housemates in kitchen preparing pancake breakfast.
Between myself and the other housemates, we get her up either before we have to get going or an hour before she gets going, and breakfast and all that before she goes. So usually we split the cost of any kind of groceries that we share. When do we normally have dinner together as housemates? Mondays?
Monday. Wednesday.
And
Thursdays.
that's when we have housemates dinner, don't we?
Every
And
night.
sometimes it's me, and sometimes it's Emma, and sometimes it's someone else.
Someone else.
And pancakes with us? I would love a pancake.
Right, do you want to set the table for 3 housemates?
3 out there.
Alright.
Jessica sets table for 3.
I definitely feel at home here. Sometimes housemate live-in situations, you don't really, you'll just be passing each other. You don't really interact as much. And here, it's like you've always got a buddy. Do you have some questions for me?
What you like about living here?
What do I like about living here? I will answer that question. What do I like about living here? I like living with you
Me.
in Stirling,
Here.
close to all our friends,
Other friends.
and we can have them over.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I like hanging out with you.
Me.
Yeah. I like going grocery shopping with you.
Yep.
Planning meals with you. I really like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
What's the favourite things that we cook together?
Lemon chicken Monday
Lemon
night.
chicken. Yeah, we're going to have that on Monday night. What's another dish that we really love?
Seafood pasta.
Seafood pasta. Yeah.
On Wednesday night.
You want that on Wednesday night?
So next Wednesday, be better next Wednesday night. Next Wednesday.
Hey Jess. Jess, is it okay if I use your milk? Cool. Can I steal it? Cool. Go for it, Emma. Go for it. Thank you.
I think it's really important that everyone gets along and everyone enjoys each other's company in a house like this. To be able to want to hang out on the sofa and watch a movie midweek, or have dinner together, or go for a drive together.
3 housemates eating pancakes and chatting at the table together.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing life with Jess.
Do you put it in his coffee?
I think we're pretty close friends, and yeah, I quite appreciate it.
What's your favourite TV show that you love to watch?
Friends.
Do you have every season?
I haven't seen
Who's your favourite character?
Dory. It's so naughty.
He is so naughty.
It's a rat bag.
Rat bag.
It's a rat bag.
Yeah.
What does a rat bag?
Your dog is a rat bag.
Text. Is supportive housemate model right for you? Graphic text. With thanks to Jessica, Coralie, and Emma for sharing their home for this video. This film was created on the lands of the Parramac and Kaurna people. Closing slide, graphic text. Produced by Purple Orange for My Home, My Way. www.myhomemyway.com.au. This video was part of the National Alliance of Capacity Building Organisations My Home, My Way project. This video was funded by the Australian Government Department of Social Services. NACBO makes every effort to provide accurate and up-to-date material. However, information is subject to change, and our material is for reference only.
Well, thank you, Lachlan, for getting us through all of that as well. We have a unique situation. I introduced myself as being on the Nurrungeri country, and that's because now I have actually moved away from where Jessica lives in her housemate situation. So we're actually in a new part of our journey, but it began, Jessica's 34 years old and she has an intellectual disability, speech disability, a number of things going on there. And she has a brother who's 32, married, and they have a young son who's 8 months old, and she has a sister who is 25. And we have enjoyed living up in the Adelaide Hills for a long time, and we hadn't been talking to Jess about moving out of the family home at all, but she was 16, and I won't quote her exact words, but the sentiment of what she said to us just in the car driving home from school one day was, I don't want to live in a group home with other people. I want to live in my own home. And that came literally out of nowhere. And this is back in a time before the NDIS and before we'd even done any research. And we're like, wow, I guess we'd presumed that Jess would just move into a home with other people like herself at some point. So we were really thrown a bit of a curveball and did not know what shape that was going to take as time went by. But we really wanted to be able to honour Jessica's desires for her own life. And so at 16, we didn't know what that was, but, 18 years later, we have got a pretty good picture, and you get to see Jess there, and she really and truly is living in her own home, in her community, with people of her choice, living her best life. And I think specifically I was really asked to talk about how we developed what we've done, and also what Jessica's doing in her life now. So I guess when we were at the beginning of this, we didn't know where to look, where to research or whatever, and two things happened. One was I came home from a meeting late one night and I saw just the tail end of a documentary that was on the television, and they were talking about a role where a gentleman had been matched who was quite wealthy, living in a nice suburb in a neighbourhood in Melbourne, quite old, but he needed just a bit of help to continue living in his own home. And he'd been matched on this register with a young lady who just finished her degree, and she was looking for somewhere to live. So they matched these two people. So she would just give him a bit of help to live in his own home, and in exchange she would give him some care. So she had the security of being in a nice neighbourhood with a lovely person, and he, in return, could stay living in his own home and in his own community. And I thought, wow, I love that story. That's what we want to do for Jess. So there began our start of the journey, and at the same time we started doing some work around networks and building networks and figuring out who were the people that Jessica wanted in her life and around her life to help make that happen. And I guess we did a course with a group called Planet, and a few of the things that filtered through regarding home and living at that point was a couple of really helpful guiding ideas. And one of them was that we needed a house that was specifically for Jessica. We needed it to be in her neighbourhood. We needed it to be walking distance back to the family home so that she could visit the dogs. You know, she wasn't that interested in seeing us, but she missed her dogs. So she could come back and visit her dogs. And also we needed things like keyless entry. We needed a property that was with lots of other houses close to it for her security and to know some neighbours and that sort of thing. And in our neighbourhood at that time, houses tend to be big and far apart and not quite so secure. So once we had those ideas in motion, we started to think about what that would look like for the future. So we knew that the government was never going to provide assistance for building houses in our neighbourhood. So there began for us a journey of actually looking for real estate to buy ourselves, which is where we ended up going with that. Jessica, all through these years before we even bought a house or moved her out, she was building her network of people around her and building skills. So the conversation was always there about, which toaster, when the junk mail arrived in the letterbox, we'd say, which toaster would you put in your house? And she'd choose things. So she was choosing things, buying things for years that would make her home her own. And I think she loves to decorate, and that's a big part of who she is. And I felt, even though she didn't perhaps understand what moving out of home actually meant and creating her own home, she was starting to get the idea of things that would exist within that space. So in the end, when it came time for Jessica to move in, we decided it would be great if she could have 2 different housemates living in the house. So there's a 3-bedroom house. Very important, we feel, that each person can go to their own space. Everybody needs their own space to be able to go to. And we'd never seen a model like this before, and we thought, how are regular people going to go just living with a person with a disability? You have those little nervous moments and fears. So we thought, okay, everyone has their own space. So that was important to us. We got funding for Jessica to be supported in her own home just for 14 hours a week. So essentially the housemate moves in, and each housemate of the 2 is given guaranteed 7 hours of paid time that they support Jess for every week. But it's actually more than just these 7 hours of paid work, and they were just to help Jess get up in the morning and to do some cooking and cleaning and things like that. It was building those relationships and spending time together. And so that wasn't paid time, that was just organic time that they would have together. The housemates actually work together, and they figure out which things they're going to do in the week. And if one of them needs to go away on holidays, for example, they have the flexibility of one being able to pick up all the other hours, or we can bring in another support person for those hours that are missed. Generally, this has worked really well, having students and people like that come and live with Jess. So there's always this idea of there's one housemate who's been there longer, and then the next housemate who moves in. So there's always a continual role for one housemate to be training and teaching and getting to know the other housemate. So I can step back, which is really my role in all of this, is to build the structure, but to be able to step back so that Jessica's life is actually sort of sustaining itself even when I'm not around. So it's their home, and they love being there. So as it is their home and they are housemates and it's not just a paid role, they get to bring friends over. And so Jess's circle increases, she meets more people. And, you know, we've been doing this for 10 years nearly, and Jess has had probably a dozen different housemates over those times. Obviously, Coralie, who was in the video, has been there for a very long time, but there have been others who've come and gone over the years. So Jessica's world has really expanded, and she's found new interests because of the people she spends time with in those places. We've had overseas students, and that's just added another flavour as well. So I feel that Jess's life is always increasing and her capacity is always increasing just because of the nature of having housemates that are just regular people. one of the things I love about having housemates, and Jessica would agree, is, who wants to hang out with boring old mum and dad all day? It's infantilising. We don't do stuff that she wants to do. I don't even know what 30-year-olds want to do. So having housemates that are, her age group, her interests, or introducing her to new ideas is so fantastic, because she's not infantilised. She's living a life that a regular single woman of her age would be doing. And, that's just so wonderful for her as well. So they are paid support workers, yes, so they do invoice us. There is a certain amount of admin work that obviously has to happen for that to happen. They get to go away on holidays, so Jessica will be absent from the house sometimes for a week or two if she goes away on a holiday, which you'd say, oh, well, then the housemate's not getting paid. How does that work? Because often they are students and they are living very close to the line financially. So we've built in, an understanding with housemates that they can do extra hours ahead of time just going away and make it up at the other end. So no one's ever missing out on an income, which is important. We've all got to live. We've also had students who've been away on, have to do teacher training or whatever. So we've also had that flexibility with housemates to bring other people in as well. And I guess because the process has been going on for so long, not only have we had a rolling number of housemates, but housemates, when they leave, tend to want to stay connected to Jessica. So they then become part of that bigger circle of support and backup people that you can invite in. And it has really worked very well for us in the building of relationships and the network over many years now. The house itself has keyless entry, so Jessica has fine motor skill issues, so that was important that she just uses the garage door remote to get herself into the house. And it's in a group of 11, so she knows all her neighbours, she feels very safe, they all know her. And I guess when we started out on this journey, we were thinking about her safety, and I feel like a really important message, one of the challenges, I think, for families as they're thinking about this model is, well, they're not paid people, and it's not in a group home, and it's not set up for her security. But the security of Jessica's life is that she stayed in her own neighbourhood. And I know when we started looking at what the government had on offer, they offered us a location 40 kilometres away, and not only in a different location, but in just completely different on every level to what Jessica's ever experienced. So it wasn't really an option. And the thing about Jessica's life is that she is known in this community. She has walked her community for 22 years. The shop owners know her, the neighbours know her. She'll walk across the oval and she'll meet a dog, and she pats the dog and she meets the owner. She knows the dog, she knows the owner. And I'll be out and about sometimes, and people will come up to me and they say, oh, we saw Jess in the shop the other day. We really liked the person who was talking with her. It seemed, and so I'm getting feedback in the community as well. And so there's sort of eyes everywhere. So I think for the parent, it's that letting go of fear and worry and embracing trust and putting a little bit of faith in others. That's a bit of a challenge, but also will greatly benefit the whole process. The benefits of having a housemate situation we've found is that Jessica lives where she wants with who she wants. So when it comes to employing a new housemate or looking for a new housemate to come live there, we might find somebody who looks perhaps interesting, and we will send, the first thing we do with them is send through a couple of guiding documents about Jessica's life. We have a document we're working on all the time, which is called Jessica's Good Life. I know this conference is aimed at ordinary life, and that's the language that's around, but we've called it Jessica's Good Life, and we're always tweaking things socially, health-wise, relationally. There's all sorts of information in there. So that information goes to a person first, and they have to read it. And if they come to an interview with me and I ask questions and they haven't read it, well, they don't even make the cut, because if you're not that interested to get to know Jess through this, then, well, you're probably not going to be the right person. But once we have gone through the process and police checks and ID and all of those things you have to do, we offer people a 3 months trial. And it's got to be the chemistry, the competency, the friendship has to work within the house. And Coralie actually mentioned that in the video, that you've got to enjoy each other's company for this to work. So at the end of the 3 months trial period, it's a no shame, get out of the contract free, and just walk away, because, and sometimes it's not Jess they don't get along with, it could be some other person, another housemate, and they just don't mesh. And so we have put that safeguard of that 3 months trial period in, and we've found that really beneficial. After that, people sign up for 12 months. So Jessica has complete choice and control about who comes to live with her. And for us as a family, we love that we know the people who are in Jessica's life all the time. And we actually make an effort to, have coffees with them regularly, always be available to answer questions or to check in, how are you doing? We like to keep an open relationship with the housemates. In fact, all of the support network around Jessica's life. We'll have, the odd social event where everyone can get together, but we also make ourselves available for those private conversations when things are a bit tricky and they don't know what to do. So, this is a great model, but it takes a lot of work to get it started. I'm not going to deny that. That is one of the challenges, finding the place to be, establishing housemates in the house, establishing the admin that goes around that. But honestly, I have to say that it is so worth the effort. And I relate this to another little challenge, I guess, that was early in Jessica's life, when very early on, and she's going to school, and it was a big job for her to be able to dress herself in the morning, and so much so that I would get her up 2 hours before she needed to be ready to get in the car to go to school. And it was, yes, and you would think, oh, wow, well, 2 hours, that's a lot of time. But for me, it was worth getting up early so that she could do the whole job herself, and have ownership of that job and be good at it and be prepared and independent and walk out the door. And I think that so translates into her life now. We worked hard at the beginning, but, now it doesn't take just 2 hours to get ready in the morning. If she's very motivated, she can be in that shower and out the door in 20 minutes if she wants to. And so, look, all good things are worth the hard work in the beginning. The benefits: she's with people she chooses to be with. She lives where she wants to live and who she wants to live with. She's secure because she knows and is known in her community. It's cost effective. We negotiate contract prices within our funding, and we can make it stretch that little bit further. It's a win-win for everyone. So the housemates get to live in a great house in a great neighbourhood with great public transport, public walkable neighbourhood. And so anyone on any budget could come and live with Jessica. It's living a life that other single people her age are living. It's no different to her siblings. She can come and go to mum and dad's place whenever she wants. Having said that, we just moved away. So that's another story for another time, but we're testing out this model now, this housemate role. By moving away, we're an hour away, and we're just going to see that everything we've got in place, is it working really well? Can it sustain itself for the future? But generally speaking, she's been able to just walk around to mum and dad's place. She's very independent. She can just walk out and have a coffee when she wants to. She doesn't need to sign a permission slip or go through a gate. She just can do the things she wants to do in her own time frame. She's free to experience new people and do new things. And I think the flexibility of suddenly, there's a music concert on, let's go. It doesn't have to be planned and, asked permission for by other people. So this is her life and her story right now. There is so much more to it. She is building a micro business on a micro enterprise based on her artwork. So that's a new thing that's happened in the last year. We've been building towards that. But I feel like setting up the home and the housemates and getting Jessica's life running has been like the bricks and mortar. And now we're just value adding all the things that she loves and she wants to do. So creating the business, hosting people for parties, just having holidays of her choice that she can go away on her own. So we just, now that the living situation is pretty much organised. Nothing's ever finished. I mean, there's always more work to do, and we're always learning. And I've loved listening to the other conference speakers this week. I feel like I've gained so much more, thought bubble ideas. But, so I think that's really all I have to say about this. I think A, build your network early. That's the most important thing. And B, be open to listening to lots of hope-filled stories. Don't listen to the negatives. Build yourself up with the hope-filled good stories that are working, and take little bits from everybody's story. That's what we did, and we found it incredibly helpful to be listening to story and to listening to Jessica and trying to make possible the things that she is expressing in her ever so simple way, and bringing those things to life, because it's changed her life. It has allowed her to be the person she is meant to be, and without my rules around it. She's decorated her house completely different to what I would ever do. It's crazy, but, it's her home and she owns it, and lots of people come into that space and enjoy it with her.
Closing slide graphic text, with thanks to Julianne Menzies, CrowdComms Purpose Matters Conference 2022. This video was made possible with the support of an Information and Capacity Building grant through the Department of Social Services. Produced by Belonging Matters. Belonging Matters makes every effort to provide accurate and up-to-date material. However, information is subject to change, and our materials for reference only. This video was filmed on the land of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation. Logos, Belonging Matters, talksthatmatter.net.
Graphic text. More Purpose Matters conference videos. To watch more videos from the Purpose Matters conference, please head to free videos on the Talks That Matter website, talksthatmatter.net. Logos, Belonging Matters, Talks That Matter.